Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 14. Today is going to be the last day to study King Lear, and Friday, as always, is summative day. It's going to be reserved to work on the project, which I've actually already posted. It's, I think, about 10:30 at night right now on Wednesday night, and the assignment sheet is up and you're able to access it. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to do tomorrow's lesson. We're going to be practicing some pretty important skills tomorrow related to presentations. So make sure that you don't just jump right into the summative. Do tomorrow's lesson, but I did think that it would make sense to post this assignment a little bit earlier so that you could think about what sequence out of whichever scene you want to work on. Some of you, it seems that you're gravitating towards certain characters already based on your paragraphs that I've seen from you, which paragraph writing, that's a really important skill looking ahead to next unit. So make sure you don't neglect doing the lessons and getting that feedback. The only way that I can help you to improve with your writing is by seeing examples of your writing and best examples of your writing, and then being able to make some comments and to see issues and to point those out to you so that you can fix them. Even the best writers, and there are some very strong writers in this course, even the best ones, there are small things, like for example, the idea of citing or quoting poetry. There's a certain style that uses slashes to show where the line breaks are. So that's something that I pointed out to a student who the rest of their paragraph was pretty much flawless. There's somebody else wrote a very strong paragraph, but the quotations were isolated, which means instead of leading into a quotation with like part of a phrase, you just drop the quotation in, and that's kind of choppy. It's not very good style. So those are little things that I can pick out for you if you do the lesson work and submit work to me. Anyways, we'll talk more about paragraph writing very shortly because next week, writing an essay. But getting back to the project, you're going to be choosing a character, mostly. That's the most important part. You're going to choose a character, and then you're going to find a really good sequence that they are in, and that's going to be the starting point for choosing the topic for your project. Now, this project can be done in pairs if you want to. Depending on who you are and where you live, there are a few of you who are, like there's only one person, I believe, in the course from like Barry's Bay, and there's only one person from Petawawa, but there's still a few of you from Arnprior. So if you wanted to work in tandem with somebody else, then that's possible. And I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't drive from Arnprior to Petawawa or vice versa. So that's an option for you. I don't know if you've got friends in the course, but if you do, it's a possibility. If you choose to work as a tandem, though, I'm expecting you to have like 2 people's worth of work instead of just one. So if you're shooting for level 3, the number of like poetry lines that you would be performing would be between 15 and 20. So that means that between the 2 of you, you'd have somewhere between 30 and 40, right? So you just kind of double the amount of work that needs to be done. But anyways, I'm going to let you read the assignment sheet and email me your questions. Get in touch with me if there's anything that needs to be clarified. But I've had a couple of days to look it over and to sort of like iron out any wrinkles that I saw in it, and I think my assignment sheet is good. I think the rubric is nice and clear. It's a 2-part project. You're going to be doing, you're going to be filming a sequence, and you're going to be doing that in a professional way, which means you're going to use some cinematography techniques that you've learned, and you're going to use some video editing techniques that you've learned, and your finished product is going to be a work of art. It's going to be cinematography. It's going to be great. And then you're going to present that. So today's lesson involves a presentation skill. So far, I've taught you a little bit. We've had a lesson on cinematography. We've had a lesson on video editing. Today's lesson is going to involve, like, when you get past King Lear, it's going to involve presentation skills. So, what makes a good presentation? Really, it comes down to you. For those of you who are aspiring to be teachers, woe to you if you wish to teach in Ontario, but there are lots of parts of the world where there are teachers needed, other parts of the country too. Right now, it's really hard to get a teaching job in Ontario, and it's hard to hold on to the job once you have one. But for those of you who are interested in being a teacher, the advice that I would give you is the most important resource that you have at your disposal is you. And what I mean by that is your delivery as a teacher is everything. Depending on how you deliver content and the energy and the enthusiasm that you have, the seriousness that you need at certain times, but also like the sort of fun side that you have to show at times, all of that really is the basis of good teaching. And the same is true with presenting, because teachers basically just like, a lesson is pretty much an ongoing presentation. I pretty much deliver presentations for a living. So when you're delivering a good presentation, it really comes down to you as presenter. And what do you need to be a good presenter? You need like a variety of skills, but most importantly, you need a foundation of knowledge. So here's a little activity we're going to do. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to think of at least 3 things that you're an expert about. 3 things that you know a lot about. So the 3 things that I could probably talk a lot about would be chess, hockey, and the Beatles. Those are 3 things that I know a lot about. So 10 seconds. I'll count them off. And 10. Okay, so 3 things that you know a lot about. If you had to deliver a 10-minute presentation on any of those things, how hard would that be? You could probably do it right now. If all you had to do is talk about this thing, whatever it is, then you probably just do it. Like for me, if I want to talk about the Beatles for 10 minutes, that would be pretty simple. I might start off by talking about how I came to actually like start listening to the Beatles, which was right at the end of high school. At the prom after party, somebody had brought a copy of Abbey Road in, and early in the morning, when I was trying to fall asleep, I was looking for music to play in this strange basement that I ended up kind of crashing in. And I tossed in a disc, and I didn't even know what it was, and it turned out to be Abbey Road, and I was listening to it, and I was like, wow, this is a great band. And then when it got light out and I actually saw what the disc was, I was like, huh, the Beatles. All right. So, you know, I think I just chewed up about 30 seconds right there with that anecdote. You could go on and on about whatever you know a lot about. So if you know a lot about your topic, your presentation is going to go fine, pretty much. It just needs to be sort of like dressed up and prepared. The opposite is also true. So, you know, how many of you out there have ever tried to present on something that you didn't really understand? And how well did that presentation go, right? You sort of get up there and you're all nervous, and then you try, and you've got a lot of information, and some of it you try to memorize, but you don't understand it, and you end up trying to read a bunch of it, and that's really boring, and you're nervous, and it just goes really badly. So if you start off a presentation with a good foundation of knowledge, it's going to be a good presentation, regardless of what your skills are really. But we don't want to be good at presenting, we want to be great at presenting. So there's a lot more to add. Now there's basic skills and there's advanced skills. Basic, we're going to be looking at some basic verbal and nonverbal skills. I've got some preparatory skills in there as well. The most important thing as far as preparation goes, I think, is having cue cards. A cue card is a small card, would be about this size, and that cue card has got 3 things written on it. It's got 3 points. Each point has got no more than 8 words, because you have to just be able to glance at it, see what it is, and then keep talking. Because remember, the information is not on the card, it's in your head. You've got the foundation of knowledge that you're going to be drawing on. So you're going to be presenting about the film that you made. You know all about the film that you made, and you know about the play, and you know about your character, and you know about cinematography, and you know about the camera angles you used, and you know about the lighting that you used and whatnot, right? So you just glance down and you know what the next thing is you're going to talk about. The general rule is each point represents at least 20 seconds worth of speaking time if you elaborate on whatever it is. So 3 points equals 1 minute. Each card you've got is a minute worth of speaking time, right? So, and you've got all your cards. Now, as far as your advanced and basic presentation skills go, verbal and nonverbal, I've got a lesson prepared for you today where you're going to look at those different things as they appear in a variety of presentations. You're going to see an acceptance speech for an award ceremony. You're going to see a beauty pageant, answering a question to the beauty pageant in that round. You're going to see a comedian, a motivational speech, a political speech. And in those speeches, you're going to be grading the different presenters as far as their skills go. Your basic skills are the things that everybody knows. So everybody knows good volume and good pacing and eye contact and good posture. Those are some things that everybody knows. But there's also advanced skills. So as far as advanced skills when it comes to your verbal skills, you want to get rid of your stutter word. Figure out what yours is. Mine is okay. I say okay a lot when I'm delivering a presentation. I'll move on to the next, before I move on to whatever the point is, I'll say okay, and then I'll move on. Yours might be an or an those are the two that are really common. I've got those as well. Everybody does, but when you're delivering a formal presentation, you want to be aware of those, and you want to make sure that you limit the number that you've got, because if there's a lot in there, it's really going to show up. Okay, there it is. There's another one. So that's a third one, actually. That's so. Let me try it without a stutter word. Another important skill, as far as advanced skills go, verbal skills, would be the dramatic pause. Now, a dramatic pause is a short pause either before you say something profound or right after you say something profound. So there's something that's really important that you need to know when it comes to using these. One thing that, if you know this, it'll really dress up and improve your presentation skills. And that thing is that your dramatic pause should last about 2 seconds. There, just use one, all right? The idea is that the audience is going to kind of like, you're going to create a little bit of suspense, right? And the audience is going to be hanging on to hear what your next word is. Or you could say something that's really important and then leave a pause afterwards. So you could say something along the lines of, King Lear is the most important play in all of human history. It's so important that every student should have to read it when they're in high school. So there you go, the dramatic pause after the important point. As far as advanced nonverbal skills go, I'm going to talk about the use of the stage, the idea of when you're doing a presentation, you're actually up on stage, and being able to move around and generating confidence by having good expressive body language. You can't see my body language when I'm doing these videos because I'm shooting from like the shoulders up, but if you were ever in my class, you would know that I'm very expressive when it comes to using my hands and gestures. So make sure that you use those positively during your presentation. That's something that's really important when it comes to showing some confidence and showing some energy and enthusiasm. So today you're going to be doing one more lesson that has to do with analyzing the play. You're not going to be reading today, you're going to be analyzing some video, actually, some different clips of different scenes. Then there's a lesson on presentation skills, and you're going to be grading some different presenters, and of course, a little bit of time in there for you to do your reading. You should be on your second novella at this point. There are a few of you who haven't chimed in with what novellas you're reading. I hope that that means that you're just planning on reading a lot over the weekend. Make sure that you don't wander into next week without having read a novella. Okay?